I'm delighted to be joined by UFC lightweight Jordan the Monkey King Leavitt ahead of his upcoming fight with Paddy The Baddy Pimblett at the O2 Arena in London this July 23. Hey Jordan, thank you for having this interview here with us today. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm happy to be here.
So you're going to be taking on Paddy The Baddy Pimblett in July in his hometown of London. How are you feeling about that matchup?
I'm feeling pretty good about the matchup. All the extra flash is a little bit more tedious than I'm used to, but the fights, at the end of the day, it's just another fist fight, and I have some experience with that. So pretty actually excited about the matchup. I think it's gonna be a very interesting bout.
Oh, yeah, and we have been hearing you allude to it being strange or interesting, or how you're going to either be way ahead on the scorecard or you're going to finish the guy. That's what you're looking for, right? But when we look at your record, you currently do not have a knockout, but you have a bunch of submissions. Do you think you can officially predict a knockout in this fight?
I can predict that there's a high possibility of a knockout.
Okay.
We both have one real knockout. I have the slam, and he has his UFC debut. Both of our debuts are our only knockouts, legitimately. And then on paper, I have way better defense, and then he has better punching power, supposedly. So I don't know. I think skill pays the bills. And I think he has a very good eye for the finish. And I think he has legitimate power and legitimate finishing ability. But I think at the end of the day, my fundamentals are a little bit more crisp. And I do think I just have a few attributes he's not prepared for.
Oh, very interesting there. Because when you look at Paddy, right, when he took on Vargas, again, hometown, similar conditions, I feel like that's the best reference point. What did you make of it, his performance against Vargas?
I think he really won that fight more out of things Vargas did wrong as opposed to things that Paddy did right. Vargas did not defend the rear naked choke at all. He was holding him against the cage, and then he kind of stuck his butt out and then got Ogaruma'd pretty hard. So Paddy has some pretty decent judo, especially from the wizard position. But Paddy threw 3 punches, missed all of them, got rocked, shot a takedown, had no confidence, fell to his back. So, like, when you watch the fight on mute, and then the commentators aren't telling me how big a deal this is, it's not very impressive from my point of view, respectfully, with all due respect. But I fought people with much better highlights, and I don't listen to the commentators and all the flash. It doesn't really seem too difficult of a matchup for me. I think I fought better people on the ground and better people on the feet, and no one's been close to finishing the fight against me except for one little guillotine that was a little scary. So I'm feeling pretty chill about it.
Yeah, and you have spoken to how you feel a little offended in the sense that you're being looked at as an easier matchup. Because, and I want to be very careful with the wording here, because I know you are, you don't seem like the kind of guy who would hit a lot of power punches. So when you say the word seem, it tells me that you are the guy who's going to knock him out, or you carry that power. Could you expand on that a little bit?
I do know I carry that power. I have like this innate dislike of hurting people. So generally when I throw strikes, it's to get points. And I have like the ultimate goal of getting to the ground, system of control that leads to submission. I feel like that's very clean and tidy. But my last fight, I was outpointing him easily, but I was losing the 3rd round. Then I went orthodox for literally 2 seconds, dropped him, and then he shot, and I won the round. So I know I can hit people hard if I choose to. It's just, if a fight is slow, I'm not going to wake up. I definitely feel like I'm too relaxed. And I feel like once I get hit a few times, I feel like I definitely show up. I'm all the way there. But I just feel like I haven't really been pushed in terms of like pain or fear in any of my fights. And anytime I feel like I have those emotions, I think the Monkey King shows up, and it's not just Jordan Leavitt out there. But I am confident that Paddy will hit me, and he will try to put some fear into me, and I think that's going to wake me up. I'm hoping.
Oh, wow. So you feel like it's going to start, and then he's going to connect with a good shot, and that's going to get that Monkey King part of you going.
Yeah, I think if the crowd doesn't do it, his weird winging chin-up punches will definitely wake me up. But I've trained with so many good strikers. Like this entire camp, I'll be trained with Arman Saryukin, who's the best wrestler in the division. besides possibly Islam Makhachev. And, you know, Paddy is no Arman Saryukin, with all due respect, you know. So I just feel like I'll have training sessions that are more dangerous than this. And I just feel like if I take luck out of the equation, I win this fight 99 times out of 100 based off of just skill.
Gotcha, yeah, and you have that wrestling background. You're more skilled in that, whereas Paddy, I wouldn't say he's a wrestler. He's more of a jiu-jitsu proficient person who can take on wrestlers and get them in a submission or something. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how your wrestling matchups against his. Now, coming back to the point of UFC matching you up against Pimblett, I would argue to the contrary. I don't think that they necessarily, yeah, maybe there was a part that, okay, easy fight, this and that. I feel like it's perfect matchmaking from the promotion, from a marketing, from a branding side of things. Do you recognize that, Leavitt?
Oh yeah, I do recognize that. I feel like it's a win-win. I think they like both of our personalities. And I just know his team asked for this fight. So that makes me excited. They're always asking to fight me, and then I make them look really weird. Everyone thinks they're going to be the person to knock me out and pressure me and put me on the back foot. And they don't. They don't, because I'm weird. I have a different timing, a different rhythm. But I definitely feel like, has it crossed my mind that the UFC's maybe like, perhaps Paddy's complained about too many things. How would we teach him a lesson? Maybe Jordan Leavitt will work on him and embarrass him. Is that a possibility? Yes. But if I look at it from a business standpoint, I think there's like, we don't want our cash cowboy to get knocked out. And Jordan, who hates knocking people out, who cried after his only knockout he ever got, I think he's the guy that's not going to want to knock Paddy out. So I think this fight, I feel like no matter how it plays out, is going to be a good business move for the UFC and a good media moment.
Yeah, and there's something that's telling me that if you'd land that knockout shot, and I'm going to use if because we're specific with words, but if you'd land that knockout shot, you're going to go to his corner and talk in front of his team. I don't know why, but something's telling me that. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I'm going to cause a ruckus. That's for sure. And, you know, I actually like Paddy. I'm a fan of him. I've never once had a fight where the majority of the attention's like about people liking me. So that's weird. You have to be really disliked to kind of make me popular. Like, I'm the savior of the sport for whatever reason. But like I admire his game. I think he's funny. He's got good charisma. And, you know, under different circumstances, I'm pretty sure we've kind of vibed. So I think I'll beat him once, and I'll twerk in London and cause a riot, get my protective detail to take care of me, and then maybe when he's back in the States, we could go chill.
So can we expect a dance-off at the weigh-ins? Do you have anything special planned? Maybe you and Paddy do it.
Oh, I can't do a damn thing at weigh-ins. And he's having a rough weight cut too. If we maybe for the ceremonial weigh-ins, after we have like, you know, 3 or 4 pounds of liquids in, maybe we'll be able to do a little dance-off. But I think I might just save the moves for fight night.
So you alluded to this just right now of you and Paddy being friends, because I did want to ask you about it. You guys are similar, right? When we draw the Venn diagram of both of your audiences, there's a lot of overlap. So we have seen recently Darren Till and Hamzat Chimaev become the Smash Bros. Will you two become the lads?
Oh, that'd be a lot of fun. I think we work together pretty well. I think, depending on how this fight goes, if it's not tumultuous or contentious, I definitely think that's a possibility. I think he has a lot of experience. I have a decent amount of experience. We have a very similar game. I definitely think as training partners or like cordial acquaintances, we could help each other out. I think that'd be pretty tight. It'd be a nice story.
Yeah, I will say this, as a member of the MMA community, as a fan, it's gonna be the most entertaining thing ever. Like, I can't wait for that to happen, and I'm really rooting for it. But let me ask you this, and I feel like this is gonna be the sticking point with Paddy. Do you watch soccer, Jordan?
I do not watch soccer.
Oh, okay. So Paddy loves Liverpool. I won't go into too much detail, but I don't like them. I was hoping we could, but anyway. So yeah, looks like you guys can be friends then. You can be a Liverpool fan with Paddy after that. So
yeah, I'm down to try anything. You know, I grew up, I didn't have cable until I was like 15. I didn't have internet until I was like 15. Like, that wasn't a focus of so I'm completely detached from like the sports world. Social media is relatively new to me. So like, I just I fight, and I watch boxing sometimes. I watch fighting. I watch sumo when I'm feeling a little, adventurous. But I'm pretty secluded in my own little island of my books and my family. But yeah, I'm down to be a fan of Liverpool. If I got a friend that's a fan of Liverpool.
Oh man, come on, Manchester United, even though they've been suffering. But anyway, let's get back to your point. You said 15 years until you were 15, but you grew up in Vegas, right? So how did that all come together?
It's just my mom got us a computer when we needed it for school, and I didn't need it for school. I went to a nice little private school where we didn't do anything online. So then I went to public school and I needed the resources. And yeah, my mom just go outside and play. That's kind of how I grew up. I played with my friends, lightsaber fights, wrestling on the lawn, and yeah, I'm technologically inept, and I'm very, very undercultured when it comes to so many things happening outside of like politics and MMA. So yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about another way you can possibly finish Paddy, right? Submission game. Now, Paddy, like, okay, of course, by the looks of your fights and his fights, it can be said that your wrestling could get the better of his grappling, right? But Paddy hasn't been submitted in what, like over a decade? Not over, under a decade. October 2013, if I recall correctly. So do you feel like that's realistic for you to think that you can submit him?
I do believe that I have a really high probability of submitting Paddy. He got, tapped out by Cameron Else in like 40 seconds. No one's gonna tap me in 40 seconds. But I just feel like the MMA scene in the UK is very, very small compared to where I'm from. Like there's about as many fighters in Alabama as there is in the UK. So he's fought like the cream of the crop there, and he's a grappler in like a nation where grappling's not the biggest deal. So I feel like a lot of the times they just don't really know how to deal with his strengths. They're, oh, I'm just going to avoid the grappling, and then he gets them in bad positions, and then they panic because, oh no, Paddy's so good on the ground, he's a black belt, but I'm just a purple belt. But I've been doing jiu-jitsu for almost 12 years now. I've been tapping black belts for majority of that time. So I just feel like, and I, wrestled college wrestlers, top fivers. So I do think I could very easily tap him out. But that being said, he's got some weird looks. I think a lot of people see holes. I think he just has a lot of interesting tricks that maybe he relies on too much. But tricks work, and I do a bunch of tricky, stupid stuff all the time. So I still got to be on my toes. But I do think on the ground, I will definitely have the advantage. I think I'm better at scrambling up to my feet. I think my wrestling's better, particularly against the cage. But his back attacks are very legitimate, and he has a very good guard. And if I have to say one thing, I'm better. We're both very good in the first round, but I think my drop-off's a lot less, historically speaking.
Yeah, fair analysis there, if you look at it from a statistical standpoint. Now, what do you make of Paddy gaining weight during off-season, right, or between fights? That makes him very likable. Don't get me wrong. He's still incredibly charismatic. I like him. I like you. But TJ Dillashaw doesn't like him. He said that he's loving diabetes. So do you agree with Dillashaw on this aspect?
No, I just feel like this sport is kind of like a control eating disorder a lot of the time. And, I kind of worry about the weight cuts. I got kidney failure when I used to cut to 45, and it forced me to move up. So I kind of worry. I would really hate to have the best camp of my life, which I'm trying to avoid injuries, so I could show you guys the best. And the weight's under control. I'd hate for him to hurt himself. I don't wish that on anybody. Weight cut injuries are the worst. They completely change careers. And I feel like a lot of the hate towards him is out of jealousy. And I'm not jealous of Paddy. More for him does not mean less for me. So I do think it's a bit concerning how fast he puts the weight on. I can't even try to gain that much weight. So, I mean, all power to him. He has a good time, obviously. I wish I could eat that much good food I wish I could drink that much good drink. It's not in my nature. Maybe I'm a little jealous. Maybe a lot of these fighters were all hungry all the time. They're like, hey, how's this guy getting all this weight and still making it to fight day, looking all like lean and diced to the socks? So
Yeah, that's real. That's some real stuff right there. I mean, yeah, more power to Paddy, on Paddy BU. I relate a lot to the fatty in him, because, like, yeah, I guess we all can to some extent.
we've
Now,
all been fat. We've all put on too much weight in too little time. My biggest weight cut was 188, and that was in a month. And he has about 12 more pounds on top of that. So it's not too crazy a weight cut. I feel like, especially because he's not some like muscle bound, roided out physique guy where it's like, I don't know where the weight's gonna come from. Like, I think it actually might be a healthier weight cut than many of the other fighters.
and you've spoken how this weight cut might factor into, say he loses, right? It might factor into him giving this excuse, hey, I had a bad weight cut. And that you sets you up perfectly for a rematch with him in your hometown at the T-Mobile in Las Vegas. Is that what you're looking to?
I do think that's definitely a possibility. Like, when I try to like coach myself through all these PR moments, I'm like, okay, how would I feel if this were to happen or this? Because it's like kind of like the perfect stage. I don't think he'd say the excuse, but I think everyone else who picked him to win would use that excuse. It was just a fair excuse. Bad weight cuts, there are plenty of fights that have been messed up by bad weight cuts. And I just know if I beat him, I'm never going back to the UK. So I'm not sure I'll be welcomed there. So I do think it's a possibility I'll have to fight him twice. And that'd be really awesome. That'd be pretty cool. It would kind of push our friendship back a few months, but I definitely think it's a possibility. But I think if I win the fight by decision decisively, I don't think I'll have to risk a rematch. But I think if I finish them pretty early and finish them rightly, I think I'll definitely have a very high chance of a rematch.
Wow. So let me ask you this. When you had mentioned having a rematch at the T-Mobile, my first thought was, oh, Vegas, his hometown. So he wants to flip that side. But now you're saying that that's not necessarily the case. They might not let you back into the UK. And even Michael Bisping said that, don't walk in London, bro, for you. You know what I mean? And okay, of course it's Bisping. But what if the UFC officials come in and tell you to tone it down during the celebrations?
Nah, life's meant to be lived. Life is meant to be lived dangerously. Pay for some extra security. I know they got the dough. So, I mean, I think I'll do a little booty shake and they'll all boo for a second. But I feel like they'll see my heart's in the right place. I just got an eye for showmanship. It's a lot of fun. It's been a nice line. Like, I'm not like they're in a riot when I twerk on him. I'm like, that was a pretty good line, Jordan Leavitt. So I don't think, I'm not going to go out to the club afterwards. I don't want to get glassed or anything, but I do think the hate will tone down. I don't think it'll be as bad as the UFC is warning me.
Right. Now, I know you've talked about this fact where now a lot of people think like, okay, somebody talked in the cage, what the hell? And then they look at it and it's like, oh, it's him. Like, you're such a likable guy. You're very charismatic, And this sport is known for being all macho-ish and all those kind of things where people don't expect someone. So Jordan, when you do talk or do more flamboyant stuff like that in your celebrations, are you being a troll or is that simply just for shits and giggles?
I think I'm kind of being a troll at this point. Like, I did one booty shake a little bit, like for my contender series fight, like, and it wasn't even really booty shake. I like bounced to get momentum out of my split, and they're like, "This guy twerks. What is this?" And I'm like, "That wasn't really like a booty shake, I just like I have a big butt. I'm half black. I got some cake. It's a hard position to get out of." But then everyone's like, "Oh, you're so gay. You're so fruity. You're so this," and I'm like, "Oh, you guys hate me? Like, I'll show you something very flamboyant." And it's a lot of fun. Like, a lot of fighters I feel like would see the hate mail and like it would hurt their feelings. But for me, it's like I'm a middle child. I had an older sister. I bugged her all the time. I'm like, I'll push buttons. I'm down to push some buttons because anyone who like has followed me for any amount of time knows, like, except for a 30-second of dancing every other fight, I'm pretty low key. I'm a pretty soft spoken like person, and but still it feels nice to troll people. I'm still from this generation where we kind of just do things to do things.
Yeah, and you've talked about how somebody would make a bet with you in training camp or before a fight. Now, imagine if someone did the jazz hands after a fight. Wouldn't that be ridiculous, Jordan? Maybe a bet here?
I mean, jazz hands would be fun. I haven't seen that one before.
Yet. Yet.
Yes, yeah. Jazz hand. I could do.
Mm. Yeah, let it simmer. Let it simmer in the back for now. We'll watch it at the fight. How about that? So, I did want to ask you, Jordan, did you see Paddy going back and forth with Ilya Topuria recently?
That was all on Twitter.
Yeah.
From my understanding, which I haven't read any of the original source material, so if I misspeak, it's not slander or anything. He said something about Georgians being crazy and maybe something insensitive about their like history and war of Russia. And then Topuria did not like that because Georgians are very tough, you know, not like proud people of like their heritage. And then someone threw a hand sanitizing bottle and then it all kind of blew up.
Yeah.
That's all I got from it because I'm friends with Marav Davalishvili. I train with him all the time, and he was very hot about it too. But I'm not quite sure what happened.
Yeah, we won't get political here. My former roommate was Georgian as well, so I know what's anyway. So let's go back to you coming through into the UFC, right? You made your way through Dana White's Contender Series, and Paddy made his way through Cage Warriors. Do you feel like that impacts a lot in terms of how the business side of things work, how negotiating and contracts are done?
Yes, I do. So, I mean, from my understanding, like Paddy was offered a contract twice before, at least once before, but it wasn't a favorable contract, so it wasn't taken. And then he lost one fight, which was kind of like his first shot. And I feel like that really ruined his negotiating power when he finally got his shot. And then it's kind of ridiculous considering how much hype he brings, because he brings in money. And the fact that he was getting paid as much as I was for Contender Series was kind of insulting. So I feel him on that. You should get paid your worth. But then on the flip side, all Contender Series, no matter how popular you are, if you got your contract off of them, you get the same pay. So yeah, I definitely feel like it affects like the business side of things. And I just feel like he kind of got a bad deal from my perspective. You know, not to show some empathy for my opponent, but I definitely feel him and his frustration.
Right, and what a fair point you made right there. You have spoken about how you have other options outside the octagon. Have you completed law school, or you have like 3 credits left or something?
Yeah, I have 3 credits left for my 4-year university, and then I was applying to law school, so I have some acceptances and all that, which will probably time out like in a year or so. But I can always reapply, and I'll be even cooler because now I'm a UFC fighter and all these things. But yeah, that's always the plan if I have to sell out and do that. But this is where my passion is. I really like this whole fighting thing. It's been really cool to be able to just do this full time for the first time. Like I train for 4 hours and then I get to hang out with my baby and, you know, read the books and be a husband. Like I'm living like my dream life right now. I'm happy in all aspects of my life. And I feel like if I was working 10 hours and going to court and doing all these things, it would definitely take a lot of the joy out of life. But I feel like if I play my cards right, you know, I could leverage this opportunity I have in the UFC to do other things, and I don't think that'll be too difficult.
Yeah, and like I had this feeling where you strike me as a guy who's doing it purely out of passion, because you're very logical, reasonable, rational in your thinking and how you make your decisions. So that got me to thinking, like, you've spoken about how the contracts aren't fair, right? And there's a lot of risk going into fights. So when you look at it, how much money is actually coming in, right? Net. Would that motivate you to go and chase another avenue, maybe law school or something else?
I could see that being an issue if I felt I was not paid my worth. But I've been treated like now I'm on my second contract. I think I'm treated very well now, considering how little damage I've gone through. And since I feel like maybe since it has started off as merely a passion project, that like I don't have the same attitudes as a lot of these guys who like I dropped out of high school, this is my dream, this is my life, and I got here and I'm only getting paid this, this, and this. I understand the frustrations, and I think their feelings are entirely valid. And I mean, I'm not a bootlicker, so I mean, I'm not going to talk about those fighters. But like, there are a lot of fighters where I completely, I don't have the same emotions, so it's hard for me to like see it from their eyes. But when I hear their part of the story, I'm like, dang, that sounds pretty bad. Like, this is your life, and it's not reflecting. But I get paid good. It's, you know, I had the viral debut, and I had the inverted triangle, and I'm doing pretty well for myself. And I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing every day. And I'm not some brawler. I don't have CTE, even though I've been fighting for like 8 years. I've never been dropped, never been rocked. I got some cuts on my chin from my last fight from my headbutt. Like, my experience has been totally different. Almost like I've been so talented to encounter hardship, you know. But yeah, things are adapting in this sport.
What a nice and heartfelt message right there, where I feel like, oh, you're so intellectual, man. Like, there's 4 different points where to dissect right there. Like, oh my God, this guy's actually taking himself out of his shoes, putting himself into another fighter's shoes, thinking, if I had given up so many things. And that's when I reached the UFC, got so much damage, and that's when I'm getting it. Okay, it doesn't make sense for me either. But that's not your story. Your story is different. And you are living a great life right now. But I have to tell you how excited I am for your next fight with Paddy Pimblett. It seems like it's been forever when it got announced. It got announced when you were 26, and you're 27 now. The fight hasn't happened. I'm just playing.
Totally different stage of my life now.
How was the birthday like, man?
Huh?
How was the birthday?
It was good. I'm underweight. When I'm in camp, I have trouble keeping on the weight because I used to fight at a lower weight class and I don't have a big appetite. So I ate crazy for my birthday and I was 20 pounds away. So I actually at the party, I think I had to extend this birthday day to like a birthday week because I'm too skinny. I'm too skinny. You know, I don't want to like brag. Like, I work very hard, but since I enjoy it, I really don't feel like I'm working that hard. But then I get home and it's like I haven't ate like in 30 hours now all the time. So yeah, it was a nice birthday. Just hung out with the family, ate an entire coconut mango cake, and had my favorite meals. And I still got some more pie to eat.
Man, this is like the perfect scenario because as a Paddy fan, I look at him tearing down that burger. I'm like, you know what? That's my guy. And here you are complaining about how skinny you are, not being able to gain weight. It's perfect, the collision. But I wanted to ask you, Jordan, what was your inspiration growing up? You have one of the strongest personalities and you're one of the most, I feel like you're someone who introspects, who reflects a lot, who understands and is self-aware more so than others. How do you is it hard not to take in all the hate that may be thrown at you, or for standing out so differently in a sport which is often looked at as, oh, you're not supposed to be like this, you're supposed to be all tough and shit?
Yeah, I mean, I used to not really like who I saw in the mirror, and I feel like I had a lot of internalized self-hate until I was probably 19 or 20. And so when I see all these hateful messages and stuff, it's like, you don't hate me as much as I hated myself, kind of thing. So I feel like I kind of talked myself through that stage of my life, because life happens, everyone's busy around you. I was never the person that could complain about my problems, so I had to kind of solve them myself. And once I kind of realized that a lot of the pain I was feeling was coming from the inside, I'm okay, we found where the poison's coming from, and you get to decide whether or not that's going to affect your life anymore. And I kind of just made that decision to not let it affect my life anymore. And I've been happy for this almost 10 years since. And I'm happy with what I see when I look in the mirror, and I'm proud of the person I'm growing into. I've become, and I think I have so much more to grow. But when I remember the little teenager that hated himself it's like, I wish I can go back and tell him, like, dude, it doesn't have to be this way, kind of thing.
Oh my God. Okay, so kids, everyone who's watching this, that's the message to take away. It doesn't have to be like this. If that's what you're feeling like, take inspiration from this man's story. Jordan, do you remember the flip that switched in your mind when you changed from being that person to this?
Yeah. It was like, I always imagine like this audience, because when like you're feeling these negative things, you imagine everybody else is like thinking the same negative things. And it wasn't really like a question of like, can you deal with all the bad stuff that happens with coming out of your shell? Because like you're already hating yourself, and most of it's coming from you. So it's like I lacked courage. You lacked courage to be yourself. And people, I feel like I like saw so many people around, like in my life and amongst my friends and my family. I'm like, they're unhappy because they were too fearful to do something they really wanted to do. Because when you put like your all into something and it doesn't work, then the only person you have to blame is yourself. And I feel like I put my all into being the person that could look in the mirror and be happy with who he sees. And I've got there. I've like passed like my deep valley, I feel. And yeah, do you have the courage to like be happy? And that's kind of what I decided to have.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, you did quite literally leave me speechless here. But I appreciate that so much. Very wise words, because when I was looking at you, when I was watching your journey, and then when you got booked with Pimblett, that's the one question that was always on my mind. What is this guy's motivation? What inspired him? What changed that flip, that switch inside of him? And it's great to hear it from you. Now, before we wrap this up, Jordan, I want to give you the floor to give a shout out to any sponsors, teammates, anyone else you would like to.
Well, because I've been a nobody up until about 10 days ago, I don't have too many sponsors, but I do have a really nice support system at Syndicate MMA, and I have a great management agency at Iridium, and I have great fans. So like, shout out to all of my fans. Like, you brought so much color into this crazy experience. It made it a lot more enjoyable for the most part. And even the haters, I'm very thankful for you too. You've made it a lot more interesting. And I'm just shout out to myself. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of how far I've come and where I'm going. And I'm just, glad to be alive.
What a great day to be alive and be here chatting with you, Jordan, my man. Thank you so much for taking the time out and doing this interview here with us for LowKick MMA.
Thank you very much.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.